Good morning. Today I'll be interviewing Mr. Lansing Lewis from Southern Compass Outfitters here in Tallahassee. He's a co-owner, and I have some questions for him about his background and his upbringings and what brought him to start a store here in Tallahassee. And so first off, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Let's start off with a little personal, your experiences, your entrepreneurship ventures before this, if you've had any, and what brought you to start a retail clothing store.
Yeah, so I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, went to college at the University of the South in Sewanee, Tennessee, was a chemistry major, thought I'd go down the road of being a doctor, going to med school. Late in my undergraduate career, I took a statistics class, took an economics class, realized that my business acumen would probably be a better venture for me. Ended up going to Florida State Graduate School, got my MBA between 95 and 97. When I went to Florida State, my intent was to work for a supplier of some sort. During that time, I was able to intern with the Eckerd Corporation down in Largo, Florida, and it was my first exposure to retail, and just fell in love with it. So when I finished my degree at Florida State, I reached back out to Eckerd, wanted to come on full time, worked down in the Tampa Bay area for about 5 years as an analyst, senior buyer, associate category manager in the merchandising department. Managed categories like vitamins, baby products, dental hygiene, those kinds of things. Had the opportunity to take a bigger job at CVS Pharmacy and moved my family from Tampa to Rhode Island, where I was a category manager there for a number of years. Got promoted into a divisional merchandising manager for store brand product development. Spent my last 4 years there doing product development, which was really kind of my first exposure to entrepreneurship within a big company. I didn't have to worry about having the funding to do things. We had the scale and the breadth to get suppliers to basically create anything we wanted to. So it was really about focusing on the customer and white space and trying to charge up the hill and find new products. Towards the end of my career at CVS, for family reasons, when I moved to CVS, I had one child. When I left CVS, I had 3 children. My wife was a practicing attorney when we moved. When we had the 3rd child, she took a slight break in her career. So living in the Northeast with 3 children and the economics of that had a future challenge ahead of us to be able to send them all to school and things of that sort. So we decided to move back to Tallahassee. I opened a consulting firm to help people sell into places like CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. My wife was going to come back and practice law here in town. And so that was kind of my first venture where I opened my own business. My consulting business evolved into a brand development business where not only was I helping people sell to these retailers, but now I was helping them create brands to sell to these retailers. I ended up going to work for one of my clients on the sales side, a company out of Long Island called Cirrus Healthcare, which I still help them today. And then being back in Tallahassee, having lived in Rhode Island for 9 years and Tampa for 6 years and being from Nashville, I didn't think there was places to shop for clothing. I said to my wife one night, it'd be really nice if somebody put an outfitter's store in that complex. It'd make sense. A couple of weeks later, I went back to her and I said, why don't we do it? My sister-in-law, who's my business partner, had recently moved back to town as well. Her background was in retail. She had worked at JCPenney's as a allocator. She had worked the floor at Nordstrom's. She had gotten a master's degree in the retail merchandising product development field at Florida State. So, we had 2 retailers in town not really using their retail skills completely, to run a shop. So I put together a business plan and we saw an investment from my father-in-law.
Okay. And Southern Compass Outfitters, just how did the name come about?
Yeah, so I came up with the name. We wanted a name. First of all, we built a store that could have relevancy outside of Tallahassee. Okay, so we didn't call it Tallahassee Outfitters or whatever. Okay, so we wanted a store that if we were successful and we expanded, we would have range. Okay, so by putting the word Southern, it kind of gave a hint of the type of clothing we would be covering. Would also have relevancy in the Southeast. Compass kind of has a coastal theme. It also has a directional theme. So, felt like that was a good combination. It hadn't been done. We were able to get the trademark.
You said that when you thought of the idea that there weren't many competitors, or you didn't see it like many stores open in Tallahassee. Have you seen that change, and how do you stay unique and competitive?
Yeah. So when we opened with about 20 brands, and 12 of them were not in town. So we brought access to 12 brands to Tallahassee. So that was something that we're real proud about. We now offer about 40 brands. Half of them were the only ones, and then on some of the other ones, we carry the most of that brand. So there may be someone else carrying it. We've doubled down or invested heavily to be the go-to spot for that brand. The competition has reacted to us. Some of my local competition has gotten more similar to our concept of being kind of dressy casual. They've done, some competitive tactics that you would think they would.
What would you say your target audience is, and if the school would affect your target audience?
Yeah, so when we picked the location only 2 miles from campus, our target customer was kind of this, 18 to 30-year-old. Okay, so it included college, and it also included young adults that, had money and were wanting to kind of live the Southern preppy lifestyle, so to speak. Okay, they were brands that they were familiar with, they'd seen in other towns. However, one of the things we realized when we opened was, you're not always what you think you're going to be. You turn out to be what the customer says you are. So 2 miles from Florida State seems to be an eternity from students. So where we thought 50% of our business would be students, it's really only about 5% from college students. The eye-opening piece is we've done extremely well with high school and middle school students.
Just take us through a day.
Yeah, so with the two of us kind of running the business, we each have our strengths and weaknesses and things we like to do and don't like to do. I spend a fair amount of time on the sales floor, particularly at nights and weekends, because I enjoy it. I enjoy interacting with the customers. We seem to sell more when I'm engaging with them, so that's a good thing. We both do buying trips. I kind of focus on men's trips. My sister-in-law kind of focuses on women's trips. She does the books, so she pays the bills and keeps tabs with accounts payable and things of that sort. So we both do scheduling. We both do hiring. So there's some things that we share and some things that we kind of separate.
You're trying to gain another brand, or you're calling brands to see if you can carry them. What's the process? Are they hesitant once they hear what other brands you have? Do you tell them what other brands you have?
Yeah, so there was a real second thing I'm very proud of is we were able to source a great number of brands. Okay, and it was a process. Initially, when you reach out to a big brand, they say, "Why don't you call us when you're open in 6 months?" Okay. I even had a conversation with one of the brands. I said, "Everyone's telling me, why don't I call when I'm open in 6 months? If I don't get brands, I'm not going to open. I'm not going to be open 6 months to be able to call you." They say, "Well, we get calls from gas stations, want to carry our brand. We just want to make sure that you're a legitimate retailer operation." Okay. So part of the goal was I had to sell my background, my sister-in-law's background in retail, in trench. We know what we're doing. We had to sell our vision for our business, okay? Why we named it, why we want these brands, why we're located where we're located, okay? What Tallahassee offers. So after selling the story, there would be a brand that says, "Sounds great, I'm in." Then you take that brand that's in and use the leverage of that brand and the story to get another brand. And then you get two brands and the story, and you get the third brand. And at some point, there becomes a tipping point to where you call a brand and you're like, we have a great story, you should be in this brand, and they agree. Or we become known in the industry and we have brands calling us now saying, hey, we want to be a part of it. But recently we just launched Southern Tide, which is a major brand in the Southeast, okay, 2 years after we opened. Took us 2 years to convince them to sell to us because they had retailers in town, okay? Through our success of the other brands, how we merchandise, how we promote, our social media, the things that we were doing, we demonstrated to them. We were a trusted retailer, we were up and coming, those kinds of things. 2 years later, they decide to jump in, and they'll probably become our number 2 brand in the store. So critical development in 2 years after we open, getting a big brand like that.